I'll explain what we're doing and what tape this is, because I gotta have the tape on the film here of what one it is. And then I'm gonna have each one of you give your names, and we'll start off from there, and then you can just have at it, whatever you wanna do. If you feel like somebody's mentioning something, you wanna interrupt and add or something to it, don't feel like you're left out, just get in there and go.
You can interrupt anytime you want to add something to a person's story. Sure.
Okay, this is the first tape of number 4 session, and we're going to start in here with Leon here. Give your name and start around the table and give your names, and then just start talking about whatever you like.
Well, I'm Wren Riepe, and I guess I don't know how you do this, so I'll wait and see how someone else does it.
Well, I'm Lelia Trosper, Wren's wife, and I'm just sitting in tonight.
I'm Lelia Haussler. I live at 208 6th Street at Sunshine Village.
I'm Cal Fong. You're in our house, and we hope everybody enjoys themselves.
I'm Gwen Stewart. I live here, 42398 Dalton Street in Arapahoe.
I'm Gib Stewart.
And you live with her.
Yeah, I live with her.
Good.
Okay, folks, just go ahead. Forgot to do it on there that my name's Wren Trosper, and I'm doing the filming of these sessions. And we want everybody to just cut loose and enjoy yourself. Tell about the histories that you know of Arapahoe, surrounding areas, or anything that you can think of that's of interest. We'd like to have it on tape. Thank you.
Gwen and Gib were talking about their house, and in typing up auctions that my dad, Stacy McCoy, had, I just today found on Saturday, April the 20th, 1946, Josie and Lou Riepe, owners of a house, and it was a brick house known as the old Cayley home at the south edge of Arapahoe. They sold that. Now,
I think that's who you bought that from. And his dad was from Rugby or. Yeah, you
well,
got
that's
from
who this
Rugby.
was. In 1946,
Well, somewhere way back there.
April the 20th, 1946 was when the auction was.
There you go.
Did you know how much you paid for it?
Not anymore.
Well,
Did it say anything?
go ahead and tell us something, Gib.
There's always any guess, but
What happened about some of those people out north that you can talk about before you got in here?
yeah, I don't know. Can't think of anybody to talk about it, yes, but
Oh, heaven. Mac? Huh?
Yeah, Mac.
Hilker?
Mac Hooker, yeah, he worked with us for a long time.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Well, it's cement work and stuff like this.
Laid
Laid
brick.
bricks,
Yeah.
poured cement, plastered.
Could you tell us some buildings that you were involved with doing?
I did Simon's whole house.
Yeah.
When they brought the brick in there, they unloaded 13,000. So I had to start on.
At Roland's house?
Yeah.
And that house was built for, Dr. Christensen built that, right? Built the original house, and then Roland's added on to it.
That building that Jake McCoy had right beside Muddy Creek and brick front, I did that for Jake.
Okay. What else?
I can't think, I did a lot of bricks around somewhere, I guess, but,
A lot of cement work someplace.
yeah,
Well, you poured a lot of basements too, didn't you?
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Probably.
he poured those basements up there for, the ones that gave the city building, what's their name?
Missed.
I think I did.
Millie and
What
Ellen.
was their name? Yeah, Millie and Ellen.
Millie and Ella, all of their
Yeah,
houses.
he poured their, all the cement work for their houses.
Oh, gosh.
foundations
That whole
and
block.
stuff.
That old block of houses?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Oh, God. But,
I did that sidewalk around the park, just about the whole thing clear around it.
oh, did you?
Yeah.
Gee, that's been there a long time too, Gib.
Oh, yeah,
And you poured sidewalk at the schoolhouse there, or part of it anyway.
yeah,
They wanted it
right out front of
redone.
it there, I poured, that thing was all clear up the street, I guess.
Oh, the grade school there?
Yeah, well, the school, or the high school.
Yeah, all that over there, huh?
Yeah, the high school, right from the south door on, out the street.
Yeah. Holy moly. That's really, that's a lot
It
of,
must have been a pretty good sidewalk, it's still there.
Yeah,
Yeah, hope it lasts pretty good, I guess.
God, a lot of those, they sure stared to wear, Gib.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brick homes in Arapahoe, aren't there?
quite a few.
Was you born and raised around here, Gib?
I was, went out in the country about 8 miles, right on the farm. I was born in Gosper County, too many people can say that.
What about,
How about your folks? Where did they come from?
Well, they lived down here about all of my life, I guess, but my mom was Dale Warner's daughter.
who?
Dale Warner.
Gail Warner?
Dale Warner.
Oh, Dale Warner?
Dale
Delbert
Warner.
Warner.
Okay,
He was my granddad, so.
yeah. That's up there where? By Gosper or where?
Well, on the country there,
What's that old
last one that
schoolhouse?
owned that was Chester Heller owned that place,
Oh, Chet did?
yeah. Right across the road from, or Dick Stover lived down there, somebody, I guess.
Oh, yeah, across, right east of where the old bachelor used to live?
Yeah.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I got one brother. He's been gone since '94, I guess. I've already outlived him by several years.
Did he live here too?
Uh-huh. Yeah, he lived up there where, the house burnt down. Up there, not too far from, K-Store.
Right east of Moriam's.
Yeah, right east
Yeah.
of Moran.
Next house east of Moreland.
Yeah,
That's
they
right
said,
across from us.
they said he, the boy, committed suicide and burnt the house down. That's what I guess they finally decided.
Oh,
Not his brother or somebody else? was
Yeah,
it?
somebody
yeah,
else.
another
Yeah,
did
it was-
family.
It was
After,
after your brother was gone.
Oh, yeah, yeah, he was gone. I
So-
mean, that, whoever that boy was, I don't remember what his
I
name
remember
was.
now, I can't think of the
They
name.
had the cafe
Hmm.
and the bowling alley. I can't think of what
Oh my gosh, you lost
their
me.
names were.
Who, Leah?
Can't think of the name either. Of course, that's not unusual.
Yeah. Well, I think that house was, if I remember right, was moved into town.
For Hurley
Yeah,
Cox?
Yeah, for Hurley Cox. I don't remember where the house came from, but Hurley's moved in there, and I think probably I found where there were, the buildings were sold on one of his places in 1946.
Hmm.
So I don't, but I didn't think they moved into town that early. They might have.
See me like they got here about 5 miles north on the west side, that's where that house come from.
Okay.
Was?
Out here in the country, out here north.
Hmm.
So
And
where did
who
Hurley Cox
had,
come?
wasn't it,
Oh, they lived out south of town, where Dean, or where Leland McCoys lived at one time.
and Alfred bought that from Helper, wasn't it?
I don't know
Gee,
From some lady, I think her, that lived in that before he did.
Mrs. Cox lived there.
Oh, maybe that's who it was.
gosh, Gib, how about all those basements of those houses that Stacy moved in?
Yeah, there was a bunch of them at one time.
Man,
Must've been 70 or 80 of them all over, I think.
I wish I knew where all those houses came from. I researched the lots. Someday I'm gonna take a map and mark them. And remember the one that Draths moved in? They moved in for Draths. It was where they lived out south of town.
Yeah.
And they had a big rain and it caved in the basement wall before they had moved the house. And Father Dennis told my dad that if he would have had him bless that wouldn't have happened. So when the basement was redone, he had Father Dennis come over and swing his little lantern and bless the basement.
Well, that was a good deal.
were you there on your knees, Gib?
What's that?
Were you there on your knees praying then?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, God.
There was a house around here on the way to Holbrook that Gib fixed the foundation, and then they got a big, he was doing something, I don't remember what, in the basement all started to cave in,
Oh,
and he had to go out, him and Van Horton and Mert Horton had to go out and try and get it, keep it from falling in.
The house falling in? Oh,
Yeah,
I don't remember.
would that have been,
I don't remember whose it was, but
would
it
that have been
was in-
Bernard Schutz's place? They moved that house from, up at Salem Church. That was the Salem parsonage.
Oh, really?
So it came a long ways in there.
I don't know if I did. I
Oh,
don't know
gosh.
whose house it was, but I just remember him
He
calling.
just been going to
get
church
him
and he was
in
still,
right
still
away.
living in the same place, huh?
Tim had
Bernard.
one, had to go out and help.
Well, I don't think they lived in that house out in the country.
Didn't he?
It was, cause that was at the parsonage and they would have lived on a farm.
South of there,
I think so.
or west of there.
I'm not sure
West of
where they
there.
lived.
Yeah,
I'd have to look at a map.
I know. Just ask Jake. I can tell you where that pocket was.
You hunted pheasants out there.
And when didn't you used to live out by the Deerfield Corner? Is that where
Uh-huh.
were you born out there? And,
No, I was born in Lincoln,
oh,
and we lived in Lincoln for a while, and I started school in Beatrice. I went to kindergarten in Beatrice, and then we moved on a farm there at Adams that was called the Old Riepe Place, and we lived there till I was a junior in high school. And then we moved out here to this farm that my grandpa and his brothers owned. And and I finished high school and lived around here then.
Did you go to Beaver City to high school then?
Uh-huh. After Beaver High School.
because didn't you and June, that lived across the road, kind of from you, go for walks and?
That was my mother, my stepmother.
Oh, she was your stepmother?
Hedges?
She's my stepmother.
Oh,
Yeah,
was she?
June Hedges, right?
June Hedge and Mary used to go for walks together.
Oh, she was your stepmother, huh? Oh, my God.
Yeah, well, my mother passed away, my dad got remarried
I
several years
understand, yeah.
later. And then they didn't want to be called Grandma and Grandpa Rabel. They wanted to be called Lee and Mary. So it's Grandma and Grandpa Lee and Mary.
Oh,
Well, who was your stepmother? It wasn't June Hedges, it was somebody else.
It was Mary Rabel.
Oh, Mary Rabel.
Uh-huh.
hmm.
June Hedge was her neighbor.
Yeah.
Now, was that the people that used to own that, Rabels? That farm?
Yeah, they owned it. The three boys owned it.
Okay.
My grandpa and Carl and Ed.
Was that on the south side of the road or the north side of the road?
It was on as you turn the corner to go to Henley, it was on the right-hand side of the road.
North side.
Did Hester's live there, I think, when I went to high school? Because I went to Beaver City High School, started the fall of '39. And my dad was working at the AAA office, which was up over the bank. There's a new bank at Beaver City now, First State. but it used to be an old building that had offices upstairs. And we used to pick up Max Hester and Margaret Weir. Margaret Weir lived on the south side and Hester's lived on the north side.
Yeah, I think they did live there for a long time. And then, Stumps lived there when we come out to look at the place and decided to move out here. And, it was, Leela Stump and I can't remember what his name was now. Wes and Leela Stump.
Wesley
Stubbs, okay.
Stubbs, that was his name.
And they moved to town there right by the Dairy Queen, where that little Dairy Queen is.
And she's
Is she
in
still living or is she
she's in
gone?
the rest home, I think, unless she just died recently. And I believe she was 99 or.
Very close.
Oh, God.
Probably getting up there.
She only moved to the rest home last year, I think.
Yeah.
About a year ago that they sold her place.
But they're right there in Beaver, you mean?
Right north of where
The Dairy Queen?
well,
Yeah.
what used to be the Dairy Queen,
Yeah.
that little
She
cafe.
lived there all that long? I kept going by there, but I never did see any activity.
Yeah, she lived there, but I don't think she got
Probably
out.
never got out or
I don't
anything.
think so.
Oh my gosh.
And he'd gone over and fixed her roof several times. She'd call her and come over and fix her roof on her house or something. And he's fixed it over there several times for her.
Well, how many of us here went to rural school?
I do.
Everybody but
I
Cal.
went to Snowball out there for 8 years.
Yeah. Okay.
I went to Good Hope School first, and then over to the, I don't know what, it was by Kiker's, Ed Kiker's place out south of Wilsonville.
Okay. And Leon, did you go to Garfield?
Most of the time I did. I went 6 years there at Garfield.
And then you came to town?
Well, yeah, that was high school. And I went to St. Matthew's first grade, and then I went to that one by Walt Briney's, the third grade.
Oh, you did? That was a long ways. Did
No,
you?
we lived down there where Grandma had did
Oh,
one
you
year, so
did?
they could go to,
Okay.
take a trip, did the chores.
Well, I went to Dunbar, District 55, and one of the things that the Genealogy Society is doing is researching the rural schools in Furnace County. Well, we'll probably never get done because there aren't enough people working at them, and it is time consuming. But there is no county superintendent anymore, and at first we heard they were going to take all those records and get rid of them. So we had permission to, we still had a county superintendent when we started. And we can take one district's records home and work on them, and we make cards of each pupil. If you started in first grade there and went all 8 years, your name is only on the year you started. You don't have a card for every year. And then we have a file with the teachers' names, and then a little story and pictures, if we can find them, of students. And it's a fun project.
And now Dunbar School is where?
It was, well, you know where Bus Johnson lived?
Yeah?
Well, it was west of that. Well, from the Overhalser corner, where the
Yeah?
Pleasant View Overhalser
Where the
cemetery is, it was 3/4 of a mile east,
Oh, okay. On the north side?
on the south
On the
side.
south side?
Mhm.
Okay.
Dick Lewis, or the Lewises went to school there, and Bus Johnson's. Steve Story was in a district, and he lived between where Bus lived and the schoolhouse. And there wasn't a well there, so the teacher would bring water, and if we ran out of water, some of the kids would walk to Steve Story's to carry the water bucket back.
That sounds kind of like our school too.
Sure. A lot of the schools didn't have
Yeah.
a well,
They did.
no.
Because my sister Mary and I were the only students for the last 4 years of that school, and our aunt was a teacher.
Oh, really?
So we called her Aunt Lula. instead of Miss Lang. So that was our first 4 years, and we both were in the same grade
Oh,
too.
I see. Yeah.
We had a well, but it was bad water, I guess mostly because it didn't get pumped enough.
Now that's over there, where?
Well, right across south of the golf course.
Oh,
That was
okay.
Garfield, District,
Yeah, Garfield,
District what?
64.
64. I researched Garfield because that's where the McCoys went. They
What was,
moved
what was those brothers that lived right out there close? Down in the bottom?
Brat.
Brass.
No. Right out there south of that, in that
Oh,
curve.
Murdoch's, you mean?
Huh?
Murdoch's, you mean?
There's a Murdoch, there's something,
Well, they lived there when I went to school.
did they? Boy, there's some, oh, I remember this one guy got his arm cut off when he tried to jump on a rail car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Was that a Murdoch?
yeah, it's Vince, wasn't it?
Okay, all right, that's the one I
Vince
think about.
Cletus, and I don't know who else then.
And I always thought that happened down here, but Doreen Urban contacted me and said that Warren was looking for something about that. So I researched in the papers and found it, and it happened at North Platte.
Oh, did it? Okay. Oh, God.
And he, the funny thing about that, well, not funny, but it's strange, he married a girl from Edison, Bertha something. Anyway, they moved to California, and he was killed by a train, and
He was?
he and another guy, and apparently probably had been drinking, and were driving down the railroad track,
Oh,
and
You must have a death wish.
he wasn't as lucky as Hurley Cox then, huh?
I guess not.
What about Hurley?
Oh, he stopped the Zephyr one time right down here by the elevators, Grace. I don't know, I think old Don Hess was with him, but they were out driving right down the tracks. Got stalled out there, they couldn't get off.
Finish your story though.
You go ahead.
Well, the other guy that was with him jumped and got clear, but the Murdoch boy was killed.
Well, I looked at a different ending. One of those guys, his widow married the brother in
Yes.
of another Murdoch.
And then they moved back, after they were married, they moved back east. And she died 3 or 4 years ago, I think.
They were characters. Gosh, I think anyway. I mean, they had lots of zip.
Well, I thought that my dad had gone to Garfield School all 8 years. He was 4 years old when they moved from Trumbull out here. But in researching that, I found that one year they went over to Union, the Wickham School.
Oh.
How many schools did they have in Furnace County
Oh,
in those years?
I can't tell you.
The numbers went up past 100. I don't know how many, if
Is
they
that
had every
right?
number,
If you're in Beaver City and go into the library and into the genealogy room on the north, we have a map, and if you finish researching a district, you color it yellow. And so we can tell what districts have been researched and what haven't. Well, remember what were some of the games we played on the school grounds?
Andy over,
Yeah, Andy over.
and
Fox and geese.
softball, and fox and geese.
Yeah.
Lay down in the snow and make an angel.
Hum hum way.
Right.
Stealing cobs,
Yeah.
stealing cobs.
Okay.
Gosh.
I know that this, I don't know how many districts there were, but Weaver Precinct is right east of us. And it's one of the least, or always was one of the least populated in the north half of the county. But there's a atlas that in our atlas we bought, but Jake McCoy had put 4 or 5 precincts in there. Weaver had 4 or 5 schoolhouses in 1904.
Oh, really?
Huh.
Well, from Dunbar up to Union, wasn't that just 2 miles? And then I think it was 2 miles over to the Garfield School. But you have to remember, in those years, there were a lot of farms.
There were a lot of
They didn't
people
farm
living
big like they do now.
and larger families than we have now.
Lots of times the bigger boys didn't go to school all year. They helped with the fall harvest and the planting. So, and in the early years, they lots of times only had 7 months of school. Maybe not even that much, the earlier ones. And then most of them went to 9 months, 8 months or 9 months.
The Thomas twins,
Edith and Esther?
where were they born? Right there south of you?
No, they were born up on Grandpa's place.
Oh, were
Uncle
they?
Louis and Aunt Mabel lived on the homestead.
Oh, up here?
Uh-huh.
Oh, did they? Hmm. Okay.
And I never had asked Bernice anything about it until recently when Bill Roberts and Carol were here. And I asked her, could she remember what she remembered? And she said she remembered that Eva and she and Clifford were, that wasn't a very big house, but Grandpa Thomas's had a big family that lived there.
13.
Then Uncle Louis lived there, and they had the 3 children, and then the twins were born, and Aunt Mabel died half hour later. And Bernice said she could remember they were laying crossways on the bed, and Uncle Louis came in and said, you have twin sisters, but Mama's gone.
Hmm. Huh.
She couldn't remember, really didn't remember hardly anything about the funeral, but she said, I can shut my eyes and picture that room.
Were they the girls that lived with Carrie Bradson?
Yes. The whole family went to live with Aunt Nina, and they lived up at White, Nebraska, at Hayes Center, or close to Hayes Center, and Hayes County. And then later, Clifford lived with his dad. And for 8th grade, I think Eva lived with Carl and Mary Forney over east of Beaver City, down by Hollinger. Well, a lot of times what I started to say was these big boys in school were older than the teacher was. And some of them could be pretty ornery. I remember one time that you had a coal stove usually sitting out in the middle of the room to heat with, and before the year was over, the ceiling got pretty smoky. And one year, Carl Lewis and Lou Overhalser, I think it was, I'm not sure, they used ball gloves and they threw them up on the ceiling, and it looked like bear tracks all over the ceiling.
Oh, God. Is that right? Oh.
Leave it to those two.
Oh. Lou Overholser, you could made about anything, couldn't you? He had lots of zip in him,
Well, he wasn't too bad.
wasn't he? Where he learned to play ball.
Yeah. That's another thing they did in the country, was play ball. Did you have a ball team out in your neighborhood?
What they did when Dad was a kid, somewhere out there.
Mm-hmm. And that was down out Muddy Creek?
No, it was up, I don't know where it was, but he grew up there where housing was.
Okay,
Oh, did he? And what, oh, your dad's brother? I can't even think of his name.
Adam had it.
Yeah. He actually farmed that then.
Yeah.
After that. How come that your dad moved off, or just
Well,
Folks
Dad
died
moved
then.
up where he lived. Adam farmed that, and then Adam got crippled, and he just decided to convert to cash instead of letting Dad have a shot at it. He sold it to old John Haussler.
Yeah.
Brotherly love.
No, he wanted something in the bank, I guess. That was just, he had to go to the restaurant man before too long.
Yes, I know
Well,
he
he
did.
moved in, well, did they move that house in that he lived in town? They're south of, well, they
Oh,
lived
he-
just south of where
Brown
we did.
moved that one in where Pfeiffer's are the last one
Mhm.
you have over here. And they lived there where, he and Grandma lived there where Wessel lived,
Oh, and where Wessel lives now,
yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
And then when she died, she didn't live too long in town. He got that house from Deke Brown.
Well, I know we lived in the house just north of it. Kenny and Arapahoe had moved that house in,
Yeah.
and we lived there when our oldest son was in 8th grade.
Well, those Rich Snyder and Kenny Holloway, and old Roy, they worked every weekend on those houses. So Snyder's and Kenneth Holloway's had a place to live.
Huh.
Or maybe they were already living somewhere, but then they fixed up those houses.
Well, let's see, so Rich Snyder then lived across the street, in one house north from the mortuary.
I think he lived across somewhere from the mortuary.
Yeah. The house, they lived right north of the house that
Just
was
torn
just
down.
torn down, the
Yeah.
Smith, where Harold Smith lived. 'Cause that's where they lived when they adopted Philip.
Yeah.
Well, I started to ask about the ball teams. We always went to ball games because they played, I think it was in Johnson's pasture, Bus Johnson's folks.
Yeah.
Was over in that area. And it was a neighborhood, a lot of neighborhoods had a ball team. Did you have a pony to ride, Gib?
No. Never did, I guess.
How'd you get around? Walk?
Yeah, mostly.
They had bicycles that later on, we used to ride the bicycles to town from the swimming pool, as they said,
Yeah.
from when they lived out in the country 2 miles.
Going to school, that was over a mile.
Mhm. Yeah, we did too.
I did too.
Yeah.
Where you live down there?
Uphill
On
all
the
the
creek?
way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have my bicycle that I got when I was a kid. It's a swing bicycle. And it's still got those big fat tires on it, you know?
Was it a girl's bicycle?
Uh-huh. Yeah, we all got bicycles that year. We had to help with the chickens. My mother raised 2 batches of chicken. We sold 1 batch for fryers in town, and we had to raise another batch so we could butcher them and put them in the freezer or in the locker. We'd have a freezer then, we had to take it to town to the locker and so that's what we had. We always had to earn everything we got, so so that's how we got our bicycles.
Well, kids usually had jobs on the farm,
Yeah.
but I never had to learn to milk.
You
I had
did.
to learn to milk.
There's one cow I used to milk once in a while, not always. My mother and brother and dad used to do the milking, and I had to get supper. And then I'd always go out and help my dad feed the calves after supper. And the rest of them would stay in the house.
Grace, did you learn to milk?
Nope. I knew how, but they would never let me because I would never quit till they had the last drop of milk. My dad said, you're gonna wear that cow out. So I had to do dishes instead of milk. And I felt so put down.
Were you that thorough with washing dishes too?
Yes, I was very thorough. I was born that way. No, I just didn't want to give up as long as there was something in there. But we had nice cows and we did a lot of milking. My sisters. I had 3 sisters and no brothers. So we all got to do a lot of everything.
Sold milking down.
Yeah, we sold bottled milk. When we went to school, we drove back and forth to school, and we had bottled milk.
Quarts.
And the cream was about that
Oh,
far down. We sold it to the market on our way into town, and then we'd pick up the clean bottles on the way home that weren't really clean, and we'd have to wash them again before the next morning. It was interesting. But we all had jobs. It didn't seem like work.
Any of you ever have bandy chickens? Did you raise chickens? Raise bandies? Bandums?
We did, but Hayes has had bandies over there, and they roost as high as they could get. Barn or that.
We had bandy chickens, but one time we had a goat. I don't know where it came from, if Daddy got it on a sale or where. And just let Jake go out on the step, and you didn't see that goat anyplace, but let Jake go out on the step and it was there butting him.
Oh.
And we had Shetland pony that Uncle Stanley's had the mother, and it died, and we raised the colt with a bottle. And we had it for a lot of years, and then it got in the corn crib and foundered, so.
Now this is all over there,
Mhm.
south of that cemetery,
Mhm.
south of Overhalter's. Was it? Okay.
We lived there, I think I was 3 when we moved out there.
Right.
It was before Leon was born.
Yeah.
And we lived there till August of '39 after I graduated from high school.
Okay.
Then Carriages lived there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
We used to raise a big garden and canned all kinds of stuff. We always had to wash all those jars to make sure they didn't have a crack on top, so
Yeah,
otherwise it's gonna spoil.
yeah, and had, most of the time they canned those in the wash boiler on the
Uh-huh. We made
old wood
Lysol,
stove.
made Lysol,
Right.
all that to wash our clothes with.
My mother made Lysol too.
Uh-huh. There was a big round tub like, and it was like a soap's made out of, and you put wood underneath it or cobs underneath. I guess it was cobs we put underneath it to make it hot, and that's what we had our bath water in, and that's what we also made the lye soap in. And
How many
different
times did you
things
change the
like
bath
that.
water?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, I
You
remember.
had to dip in there and get your bath water.
Yeah,
What,
well,
what color was your soap? Both of my grandmas made soap, but it was different colors. What
Oh.
was yours?
Ours was kind of a whiter cream color. That's how my mother and grandma made it.
I suppose they could put coloring in it, couldn't they?
Well, I don't know what they did, but Grandma Riepe's was just as white as snow, and Grandma Haussler's was brown or something like that.
I think they used,
They used
some of them put
cracklings.
hog rind into
Yeah, they
it,
used
which made it
cracklings. That's what we had.
brown.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what they did.
And I think we had a great big pan that Mom put it in. Great big long pan, and then she'd cut it in blocks.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it. I just saw them made it in that big,
You know, like a big kettle.
it's like a big kettle, only it was as big as this table probably. As big around as this table.
We made it outside then.
It was inside.
Oh,
It was
inside.
inside the wash house, we called it. And we put the cobs underneath there, started the fire. that's where we took our baths, was out there in the wash house, and Mom would always throw an old rug down, and then put the tub down, and then later on we got, it was a rubber tub. It's like a cot on a rubber tub instead of a cot. I mean, it's made like that with the,
Cold water.
and then have water, and you put your water.
But did we actually use that soap on our skin? Or did
I
we
don't
just
believe
do
so, it's
clothes?
just for the clothes.
Yeah.
I think it's all my mother used
Cause
it
I don't
for.
think, I don't
Oh,
remember.
you wouldn't have any skin left.
Well, I think the homesteaders had to use it though, they didn't have
Probably.
the variety of soap that we have now. Probably used it to wash their hair.
God,
How'd you guys take your bath? Leon,
In
your family?
a wash tub, I guess, in the
Yeah.
house.
You always
We had
have
around
fresh
that
water
tub.
for everybody?
Oh, I think the two boys probably used the same water.
Yeah, I remember that's what. Oh, you got to use the same one.
We had, well, Uncle Louis Thomas lived, I don't know, a quarter of a mile, half a mile south of us, and they had, it wasn't a Shetland, but it was part Shetland. And so we had Beauty, and Little Bitty was our Shetland, and we rode them to school. Or sometimes they drove, we had a cart that they'd drive.
My mother said they had a cart, and she had 4 sisters, there's 4 girls in her family, count my mother. And they used to drive that little Shetland pony to school, that's how they got to school, was driving that little Shetland pony in the
You don't
wagon.
drink coffee, do you?
No.
In the
No.
wagon.
You don't either coffee, but Lou does.
So anyway,
Okay.
Guys,
I know that Bob Hayes drove a buggy to school for a while, and
Kevin, do you drink coffee?
Yeah, I
he
get-
stopped at, well, we
I
have
think I've
those
seen
old
you
buildings,
drink a
they're
bit.
all gone, they're east of the golf course, or about half
Ready for
mile
coffee?
east.
I don't have
guess
anything to put it on.
Thank you.
where Paul
No, that's
and I
fine.
used
Put it
to
on that
go
little table,
back and
or
Bob
anything.
and Francis
I'll
I'll
bring
make
another.
No, that's fine.
Anyhow, one
little
day
table
he
over.
killed a skunk and threw it in the back so he could sell the hide.
I
and
just
all
use
that
this
stuff.
thing all
For
over.
ages after that.
Something like
Do you
that
use
here
cream or
again.
sugar?
And my dad
Thank
told
you.
about,
Right? Gonna be
he
big
didn't
on
know
for that?
Stanley Tract
It's not.
get money.
How's it
and
going?
He'd check
I've
his
just about
straps
got
on
an
the way
hour.
to school, and the civet cat
And-
was in one, and he got sprayed, and teacher didn't let him stay very long, he had to go home.
Thank you.
Use cream or sugar? Do you, Gwen? Cream or
no,
sugar?
I'm black.
Lou, you didn't get any?
I just, I don't use cream or sugar.
You don't?
No,
Okay.
Well, what did he do then after he got that sprayed? Did he go on to
He
school?
went to school, but the teacher sent him home.
I can remember that too, getting sent home from school because the got spray bus come.
What do you remember about the gardens your folks planted?
They were big.
Yeah, we used to always have a garden.
Did you have to hoe?
Yeah.
And oh, how I hated the potato bugs. We
Yeah.
had kerosene in a little can, and you had to knock
Thank you.
potato bugs off it.
Yes. Get a whole coffee can full of them.
Yeah,
Then we dug the potatoes.
yes. I can't really remember that I had to help dig the potatoes. The boys probably had to help, but
We did everything because we didn't have any boys.
yeah.
My dad always took the plow and plowed right beside him, and then he had to go out and pick them all up out of the ground. Or that's the way he did
How
it.
we used to do was plow up and we'd go along and get a whole sacks of potatoes.
they were so
As
good
these
too, weren't they?
wheat golden cookies.
Did you raise watermelons and cantaloupe too?
Well, we have some, we used to have. Never would get any raised, but.
Did anybody steal, get in your patch, know where it was?
No, I
and
don't
steal?
remember that, but
We didn't raise them, but we stole a lot of them. Our neighbors did.
I think that
we-
happened.
We stole a whole bunch of them.
Valley maybe. We didn't have that good melons up in here.
Do you want a cookie, Cal?
Uncle Charlie and Aunt Faye Dunn, my dad's sister and her husband and their family
Takes
lived
two. They're old.
on Grandpa's
Thank you.
place,
Mhm.
which was, what, a mile and a half, I suppose, from the school over to their place. And they had a big watermelon patch, and somebody was stealing, so Uncle Charlie and Daddy were going to catch them. They went out and laid on the ground out there to watch, and sure enough, some kids came along to steal watermelons, and Daddy slid down over the hill and went through a cactus patch.
Oh, God.
Well, we used to bury little boards that had nails in them, so that we would, the people that came were robbing ours with their tires would blow out in their bicycles. You always rode bicycles out there at the farm. We tricked them.
You guys talking about the garden, I dug my onions today, and I had one that's 5 inches in diameter.
Gee,
Gosh.
Really a big one.
Jeez, that'll make a lot of liver onions on it.
Yeah.
That's what, one thing I remember about watermelon. Just one time I went out to Karskad and get watermelon. Old Brick came down there and yelled. I said, "My God, I got a lot of watermelon. Just come on up here. I'll give them to you." That's what we did. We'd have to see them, just go ask you, give them to us. God.
Another thing they did, you had neighbors and you went back and forth, you didn't have TV, but I can remember when we got our radio, and I think you bought it from your dad.
Oh, all right, I don't remember ever selling radios, but,
And I think I can find an article that says he sold them.
oh,
Anyway, they played cards a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, we used to play on cards. Rook and pitch.
pitch? You're a good pitch player, huh?
I don't know if I'm a good one, but I haven't played it for a long time now, but we used to play it all the time when we went over to my dad's. We used to play it almost every Sunday.
Fun, wasn't it?
Mhm.
How about you, Gib? Are you a pitch player?
Yeah, I used to be, man.
I thought they were. Yeah.
You used to go play pitch over at that little building by the swimming pool, didn't you?
Yeah, oh yeah.
How much money did you make there?
Well, very little, if any.
Whatever happened to that little building?
It's still there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
I-
there.
But you don't use it for that, do you?
No, I
Now it
used to be.
stores lawnmowers and stuff.
You don't care for any water?
Right now. You mean?
I think the front door opens and lawnmowers and
I think so.
those kind of things.
Yeah, remember when the library was there?
Oh,
I
yeah.
Is that
remember,
what the library was?
Yes.
Yeah, right there on the corner of the bar, yeah. I forgot about it till you mentioned it, but I remember being there now.
And it was down, well, the building that burned out, the Frost and Curry building, where the bowling alley was. In the south end of that, the library was there at one time.
Well, was it?
well, didn't the
In
library
bottom of that old building? I'll be darned.
at the Episcopal Church parsonage right up here? where the
That's what they
Episcopal
said
Church
it started there, but
Mhm.
I think the minister's wife
Yeah.
got it started.
And then the library used to be in the back of the Boy Scout building.
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah,
a
and the
while.
Boy Scout building was moved there from the prisoner of war camp,
Mhm.
down
Atlanta.
at
I
Atlanta.
mean, you'll see.
Mm-hmm. The part that